say who our speakers are. We're going to go ahead and just do like the standard call. But our speakers today are Monica, Lean, and Carrie from Flytedesk. The whole idea of doing this kind of stemmed out of conversations Charlie was having with some of the Flytedesk team. And we thought, well, let's share this with everyone. So we are. So their session today is Recovering and Thriving Amid COVID. So something we're all very interested in. So.
And if you have any questions during the course of this presentation, go ahead and shoot them through in the chat, and then we will kind of answer them as they come in. All right, we'll let Monica and the crew take it over.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be on here, and obviously COVID is something that kind of affected all of us. So myself and Carrie and Lean will be doing a little bit of a presentation. Let me share my screen here. I typically never have issues with sharing my screen, but today it's because I restarted my computer. Oh. Carrie, we might have to have you share it because I restarted my computer and now it's making me do all of these permissions.
Okay, yeah, let me take care of that. Cool, can everyone see this okay?
Yep.
All right, let me just. Okay, so I will let Lean kick things off with just a quick background on what Flytedesk is and who we are.
Unmute. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Once again, I want to thank you guys for having us here. We're really excited to be here and kind of share what we've been through during the COVID-19 era and share some of the things that we've learned along the way. But I want to start with giving an overview of what Flytedesk is, and I'm sure a lot of you already know us or heard us, saying the exact same spiel before, but I just want to make sure we're all kind of on the same page. So our mission is to fund college media, and at our core, we are a technology firm. So we started with building technology that enables national brands like Jimmy John's, NCAA, and Venmo to book ads across hundreds of campuses within minutes. With time, we evolved to be more than that. So we've built products and services and launched initiatives to help college media also drive in their own revenue. So for example, we have the ad shop, which is our operating system, which is kind of designed so that college media can, run their day-to-day processes more smoothly and bring in more local and national revenue. We also launched the Flytedesk News Rack initiative, for example, and the goal of that was to supply college media with news racks that they can use to sell for advertising space. And so, yeah, besides all of that, we also act as a kind of a consultant for our national clients, where we kind of keep up with trends and basics about, college media, and kind of share some of the things that we learn about college media and college students and campuses from, whatever we learn from you. But we also act as consultants for college media. So we work with over 650 publishers in the nation. We kind of know a lot about what college media is doing, where the trends are, and we want to kind of build, fill in the gap between national advertisers and college media. So we kind of act as a consultant for both sides and provide insights to help both sides grow. Does that make sense? Cool. So just want to share some background information about me specifically. So I joined Flytedesk about 2 years ago. I was the business manager of the Daily Collegian at Penn State. Spent all 4 years of college working at the Daily Collegian. And I also worked at the radio station, at the yearbook, and also the online webcast. So I kind of worked in a lot of facets of college media. So I was really excited to join Flytedesk, honestly, because to me, it feels like I never really left college media. I still get to bother my kids, I call them, at the Daily Collegian, interact with them day to day, help them grow and kind of be part of their growth. But I also get to interact with all of you, which is really awesome. Before I kick it off to Carrie to introduce herself, I just want to say we do want to answer all of your questions, but we're hoping it's okay to keep them towards the end so we don't miss anything. So if it's okay with you, we'll have some time towards the end to answer questions. Carrie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Lean. So similar story to Lean. I worked all 4 years at the FAU University Press. I started out as copy editor and then moved to editor-in-chief and then business manager. So I've been in both the business and editorial side. I started working at Flytedesk less than a year ago after I started running ads for them for, I think, the very first Vote.org and NextGen campaign. And it's been really cool because I never really saw myself in advertising, but I love college media. Like Lean said, it was difficult to see myself ever leaving it. And Flytedesk really helped us grow our revenue and made sure that we actually had an advertising side, being from a small paper. And it's been really rewarding. And I feel pretty fortunate to be able to kind of teach publishers to do the same and make sure that they can continue to thrive and survive and grow the revenue in the coming years. Monica?
Yeah, so my story of getting to Flytedesk is a little bit different than Carrie and Lean's. I like to call myself a career college student because I go to school, I graduate, and I come back. So I decided to enroll at a community college down in Texas where I'm from, and I really thought I wanted to get into journalism. I was like, oh, I'm going to write for the paper, I'm going to be the best. And the director, Chris Whitley, said, well, if you haven't taken media writing, you can't write for the paper, but I have an advertising position available if you want it. But he said, you'll never touch anything on the editorial side if you become the advertising coordinator. So take the position if you want. So I decided, hey, it's better to get into the newsroom and get my feet wet and eventually work my way to editorial. So I started as the advertising coordinator, and I fell in love with advertising overall. I went from selling about $12,000 a year when I first got there to $60,000 when I left. And Chris was wrong. I always touched the editorial side. I did copy editing. I helped the design team. They're now implementing a digital team since I've left. And I actually met Piper and Lean at the CMBAM conference last year. And a year ago this week, I became an intern at Flytedesk. And on my 30-day review, they offered me a full-time job. So I decided to leave college, move to Colorado, and go full-time at Flytedesk. And so like Lean and Carrie said, it's just like being in student media still, even on this side, I still get to work with my old friends at the newspaper and just help them grow and innovate, but from this side. So that's a little bit of our background. And just so you know where we're coming from and why we deem ourselves sort of experts on the matter, is because we came from college media and we still do everything that we can every day to make sure that we are making it a better place for the future. So the next thing we want to do is kind of address the elephant in the room, which is COVID. I mean, none of us really expected this to happen. I think from a lot of conversations that we've been having across the board with some of the publishers we work with, everyone was on track for the most part to have a really successful spring semester when it came to advertising and advertising revenue. And mostly everyone took a huge hit when it came to COVID. So this really shifted the way that student media organizations operated on a daily basis. You went from being in the newsroom to now operating via Zoom or Slack, Teams, and you really had to think, how are we going to bring in revenue, not just from a local level, but now we receive emails on a daily basis of how can we be included in those national dollars when local clients are struggling to spend money. So again, those publishers that already had an aggressive innovation plan, and we'll talk about innovation a lot today, if they already had an innovation plan, so maybe you were already planning to implement an e-newsletter, or you were thinking about going digital first, not digital only, but digital first, you were thinking about that and you had those plans in the back of your mind, but now that COVID hit, you're having to think about how do we accelerate, how do we get from A to Z and cut out everything in the middle. But if you were already implementing those programs, you're kind of not necessarily smooth sailing, but not taking as big as a hit because you were already planning to innovate throughout that. So we're going to try to tackle some of those and give you some tips and tricks today while we're talking. But yeah, you might have seen a decline in revenue. You might have a reduction in your staff, whether it's just through the summer or going into the fall, or like we like to say, the future is unknown. Even on our side, as we're still speaking to national clients, the future for us is unknown, and we're trying to figure out how can we do this together. As student media, we like to consider ourselves a part of student media. How can we do this together to make sure that we're overcoming those setbacks? So one thing we want to talk about was some of the setbacks that Flytedesk is having. Like I said, we're in this together, and it's not just the student college media organizations that are suffering. On our end, we don't like to necessarily call it a setback or a failure, but a disappointment. So we've had quite a few disappointments coming through this COVID situation. One of the major disappointments is that for about 8 months, we had been having talks with some national brands, corporate clients that we deemed to be really, really popular in the eyes of college students. One of them would be Target. We spent about 8 months cultivating that relationship. And right when COVID hit, we had 4 proposals that were on the table ready to be signed. And unfortunately, we had to pull back on all of those because some of them did include print or out of home or street team. And we were uncertain about where the fall was going to lead us. So that's one of the major disappointments that we had, is going into this unknown space. How do we still have a ask or a buy for our clients? Where does that fall in line with college media? How do you continue to build and cultivate those relationships in this digital community and in this world? And Carrie's kind of going to touch on that in just a moment, about how we came out on the other side of that. But again, another disappointment that we had would be within our organization as a whole, specifically in the Flytedesk company. We had to figure out what were our priorities in our business, and I'm sure some of you had to figure that out as well. As you're thinking about your revenue for the fall, where do your priorities lie? Do you still continue to put all of your hope and all of your eggs in the basket of print, or do you take this time to innovate and add in an e-newsletter, or you're ready to make that jump into social media? For us, we had to really sit down as a company and align on our priorities. And out of that, we were able to decide that our ad shop or our operating system became a high priority for us and for student media. Additionally, we really still wanted to focus in on that political revenue and bringing that to a lot of schools coming into the fall, with this being election season. So if I could say anything when it comes to your setbacks, your disappointments within your organization, sit down as a team, editorial and business, and figure out where are your priorities and what do you want to focus on going into the fall. Make a plan and really run with that, so that you can make sure that you're as prepared as possible to receive this revenue. And then the last thing that we found was that a major disappointment for us, or this could be considered a setback, is that we were operating off of a lot of the information that was in your media kit from fall or maybe even the summer before that. And as we have aligned our priorities with political revenue, we're having a major, not major crisis. I would say we're having a difficult time selling a lot of publications because we have outdated information. And so we had to figure out how we were going to pivot that into some of our successes to make sure that we're prepared as an organization for the fall.
Yeah, so Monica mentioned setbacks, so we'll go into kind of how we concretely tackled those. So regarding when COVID first hit, we had all these campaigns that were running in-person advertisements. So these were print ads, these were news rack ads, and obviously those won't be relevant with college students on campus. So what we had to do in order to make sure that the client was happy and that the media was reallocated and that the publishers could still make it happen was switch everything to digital content. So we changed those print ads, those news rack ads for Next Gen and for the Colorado Army National Guard, to website ads, to social ads, to newsletter ads. We were able to save all of that media buy. We encourage product innovation, which Lean will get into a little bit later, where we essentially created a brand new product from scratch and then ran that with publishers for the first time in Pennsylvania for Next Gen. And that was really, really fun, and we learned so much from it, and we'd love to get your thoughts on that today. We also started collecting more information that we hadn't in the past, just so it could inform our decisions going forward. So we kept a running tally of schools that were planning on being a mix of in-person and digital, schools that were planning on being only remote, and schools that were planning on being fully back to in-person, so that we could reach out to our buyers and tell them that this is where the schools that they booked are standing, and this is the likelihood of the media buy that we have with you, and really just to give them that context and to maintain, you know, those kind of channels that we'd already started. I think something our corporate salesperson, Alda, always talks about is how important it is to continue cultivating those relationships. You know, just because these media buys, whether it's with your clients or whether it's with our national clients, just because they're on hold doesn't mean those conversations have to stop. It's really important to still generate interest in your audience. And I think you can do that in a couple different ways. One way that we've found is by sending out emails to our national buyer groups, updating them on our successes, updating them on where college media is, different ways we've pivoted, different things that we're working on, so that they're still thinking about Flytedesk in the back of their mind when they're planning their buys for the fall. You can also ask them for feedback on how you're pivoting and get their thoughts. And you can then sort of subtly start that conversation again about what to do when things are normal after all this is over. I think, you know, people always just want to be engaged with, and it doesn't, you don't always have to be like selling them something. Sometimes the idea is just to encourage them to remember that you exist and that you're important, and that they started talking to you for a reason. Monica mentioned that it's been really difficult for us to put together these political proposals because we're missing current information, because so much has changed since COVID hit. And I think while we have struggled with that initially, or like there's just been some kind of missteps, what we found a way to pivot out of that is to change how we collect media information just this time. So what we did, a good example would be the Vote America campaign that we currently have booked. It's a national nonprofit that's looking to encourage college students to vote. In the past, we've collected information in our platform, but because this is such a short window that we need this information from publishers, we've created this form that they can fill out that's super easy, that we sent out via email. So I think just like being really open to changing, you know, ways that you've collected information in the past is really important, and that was super helpful for us. And I think it engaged a lot of publishers in a different way. That was really great too. And just regarding politics, like there is so much demand for college students. Our head of elections, Zach, is every day having conversations with nonprofits that want to encourage college students to vote, and with political campaigns that are really hoping to get their message out. They're always interested in college students, but especially nowadays, you know, after Bernie dropped out, Biden had to find a way to reach college students, and we think that that method will be through Flytedesk. And something that we really are encouraging publishers to do to make sure that they can run these political ads is to have the conversation about their political policy before the fall starts. So we talk to a lot of organizations that aren't sure if they can run, you know, partisan ads or nonpartisan ads or anything advertising a policy, because they have to get permission from their advisor or their business manager or their university. And those conversations take a lot of time. And when these political ads hit, like they hit really quickly, and it's important that you already have that understanding and that policy lined out before the ad is in your inbox, before you've been notified by Flytedesk that we have money for you, just so that you can run it and that we can send you this money, and that you won't have to waste time when you're super busy in the fall. And that now, since things are a little bit calmer, it's really important just to make sure that you're all on the same page about what you can and can't run. So definitely make sure to do that in the coming months if you have a chance. Okay, and then I just really want to emphasize that you're not alone. We originally had on this slide that we're in this together, but I think we realized that every single brand that's been advertising to you, whether it's on cable or social media or on your phones, has used the "we're in this together" bit, and it's getting like a little bit old. So just really wanted to make sure that you know that it's not just local advertisers that aren't really sure how and where to spend their money. It's national too. A good example of that would be Target. Monica mentioned that we had 4 proposals on the table ready for them to sign. They were really interested in back to school and orientation season. And when COVID hit, they had to put all of that on hold because their media was mostly going to be, you know, print and news racks and in-person advertising. But what we found is that while there is this uncertainty, there is still that interest. They haven't lost any amount of interest in working and advertising to college students. And their question really just revolves around, whether or not college students will be engaged with college media because they're off campus. And what we've been super excited to tell them is that now more than ever, your readers are engaged with you in a way that they've really never been before, because you're the central source on campus for what's going on with your university policies related to returning back to campus, how dining is working, how on-campus housing is working. Personally, I've had to research a lot of the universities' COVID websites, and their updates are usually pretty few and far between. They're infrequent, they're not especially comprehensive. And when I look at college media websites, they're just doing such a killer job. I mean, really, really regular content and resources for every kind of COVID question that you could have. And we've talked to so many publishers that have seen their digital metrics just soar. And so if anything, I mean, COVID has been a blessing in terms of engagement with your students, because you guys are providing such a valuable tool and resource and guide for them to go to. So we've been reminding brands of that constantly, reminding campaigns of that constantly. And I think something too that our salespeople are really aware of is that innovation really does happen together, and it can't just be one publisher alone starting a new product. Like, it really has to come from all of college media working together to make sure that we can sell these really large campaigns and offer all these different products on different campuses. And there is this sense of urgency right now that we think is driving like a lot of progress and a lot of revenue for the fall that we just couldn't be happier to be a part of. So after all of that, we came up with 5 best practices that we wanted to share. We've found that the things that worked for us will also work for you. And so we really wanted to pass along very, very tactical, concrete ways that you can grow your revenue both during and after COVID. So that's what we're going to do here today.
So yeah, the number one method is to keep trying. And I know you see keep trying and you think, okay, what does that mean? That's so simple. I sent an email that works. But something that I've started doing, I've done this since I've been in college media, and Carrie and I, we do sessions about this, is the no but method. So we're in this time where you're reaching out to your local clients that typically always advertise with you, and they're telling you, I'm sorry, but we don't have the money to advertise with you right now. And that's really when you say, no, but what can we do to get you set up for the fall? You might not be able to advertise with us right this second, but let's figure out a plan of what your business might look like in the next 4 weeks and where you want to be at in the next 8 weeks. And let's figure out how to get you from A to Z. Whether that's we create a new product custom just for you, that might be doing some research on their behalf of what college students think about their brand, and that might go out in like a Survey Monkey or an email newsletter. Or you might think about a new product that you're creating, like Influencer Network, that we're going to get to later. The purpose of this is to keep trying. You never know what the business is going through, and the same thing on your end, they don't know what you're going through. So keeping that communication open, even if it's just checking in on your local clients to see, how was your day? How is your business going? Can we do some research together to figure out what products you need and what way we can position you with college students now and in the fall? Instead of just saying, hey, you always buy the back page ad, and I know you don't have the money, but you always buy the back page ad, and we're expecting that. How can you work around that? We know you typically buy the back page ad. Your sales might be decreasing. Is there any way that you might want to do a sponsored, do some sponsored content? Or maybe we can push you out on social media and let the students that are still in town know that you're still here. Doing that little bit of research and going the extra mile and making sure that you're continuing to cultivate those relationships, even if they're not bringing you in any money at this moment. Once they know that you are the one organization that continued to try and you want to help build their brand overall, they're going to want to do business with you once their revenue starts to increase again, because they're going to remember who was there for them during this time. So really figure out what those new products are during this temporary shutdown, or maybe this is just keep trying within your organization. Use this time as a team to practice role playing, whether it's whether you're doing like Zoom role playing, working on that team pitch, working on your marketing material. Keep trying and finding innovative ways to reach your clients in this digital time?
So you might have heard this from us a lot, and we tend to emphasize the importance of innovation and launching new products and services quite a lot because we honestly believe that it's the future and it's the way to go. I mean, from personal experience and working in college media, and specifically at the Daily Collegian, I don't think we would have been able to bring in about $1 million in revenue each year if we didn't have so many product options that a client can pick and choose from. We sold everything from print to even augmented reality ads because we wanted to make sure that any type of client could come in and kind of find plenty of options to pick from. So I'm going to focus on kind of the products and services that you can innovate within, but we're also going to talk about new products and services that you can launch. I want to start. We're going to start with digital, social, and e-newsletter because these are the products that we kind of pivoted to first. And I want to emphasize that with digital, social, and e-newsletter ads, the two main things that matter to a national advertiser, but also to us, are scalability and proof of performance. Scalability means the ability for us to say to a national buyer that there's standard products and product sizes and pricing across college media. Proof of performance, or sometimes we call it the verification, is your ability to answer questions on metrics and basically help the client figure out their ROI or return on investment. So being able to provide these two answers is really important for us to be able to sell you nationally. For digital, when we talk about scalability, we basically want college media to have standard sizing across their websites. And the two most sought after sizes for digital ads on your website are 728 by 90 pixels. We call that the leaderboard, or 300 by 250 pixels. We call that the medium rectangle. So you're seeing them both in the image here, and these are the most popular. And for national buyers, they're always trying to book ads in these dimensions because they drive in a nice ROI, but at the same time, they're not super disruptive for your readers as well on the website. So it's kind of a win-win situation for all. In terms of metrics, a lot of times I'll reach out to a college media organization and ask, hey, how many impressions do you get monthly on average? And students don't have these answers. They're unable to give me this answer, which scares me a little bit, honestly, because when it comes to metrics, there's a set of questions that a buyer will ask before purchasing, but there's also metrics that you'll have to provide after the campaign runs. So before purchasing for digital, they want to know, how many impressions do they get on average on their website per month? And you should be able to answer that question. But also after you run the ad, they're going to want to know how well their campaign performed. So they're going to ask for metrics like clicks and impressions. And so I'd recommend kind of syncing with your digital team and making sure that kind of becomes part of their workflow and something that they're used to, or the advertising team is used to asking for, because it's really important for you to be able to provide these metrics. Because in fact, some of our national buyers wouldn't book a campaign at a school where they can't provide these answers. So they're really crucial. And then in terms of innovation within digital, I know a lot of you already sell digital ads. This is definitely not a new thing. But we kind of tried a new product within digital that seemed to do really well. And we wanted to share that with you. So recently we did a campaign with Jimmy John's where we did sports page takeovers. A sports page takeover is basically where, Jimmy John asked for every spot on the sports page. So every ad spot available on the sports page. And for them, it's kind of like, having their ads be everywhere within a certain page. And we also see that with homepage takeover. So clients would also ask for that. And we think it will expand. So we might see clients asking for other pages like the arts and culture page or the classifieds page or whatever it is. And so we're seeing interest in that. And you can also see an example here in the image where Headspace kind of has the two main spots on the college media website. So that's kind of like a new product we tried out within digital this year. Moving on to social. So same thing with social. Again, we need to be able to answer the question of scalability, but also the question of metrics. And so when it comes to scalability, just want to define what a social media post means to a national advertiser. So a social media ad is a post on your social media handle. So on your Facebook account or Twitter account or Instagram, your organization would kind of post text with an image typically. And it's okay if you say that's an ad or that's been paid for. In fact, I would highly recommend that. But it basically looks like a post, like any other post that you've posted. It just says it's been paid for. And so that's the first thing we want to cover. The other thing is, when it comes to social, I noticed that there's a little bit of discrepancy over how, you know, college media sells social. So some organizations sell stories, which are 24-hour stories that stay up. Other organizations sell in-feed posts. And from a national buyer perspective, the majority of our national buyers want in-feed posts. They don't mind paying that little bit of extra to be able to stay on your social media account basically forever. With a story that's only available for 24 hours, I mean, that might be a great option for your local clients for sure. Somebody that doesn't want to pay, you know, an amount to stay on there forever and kind of cares just, you know, getting the word out for, you know, for a day or two. But just make sure that you have in feed because that's what matters for national buyer. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, you know, if we're doing digital takeovers, yeah, we might hop over to social takeovers, or we might have a client say, hey, I want to have a couple of posts on their story, but I also want to have a couple of posts, you know, in feed. What would that cost? So you should be able to answer that question. And we recommend having Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as options. So I also noticed that some college media organizations have Facebook and Twitter. Others only offer Twitter. Others only offer Instagram. And it gets really messy when every kind of organization sells something differently. It gets really complicated when we're trying to build campaigns. And so, yeah, trying to, you know, having all three options, again, brings in revenue, but also gives a lot of options for your clients. In terms of metrics, I mean, this one's a little bit easier, right? Because you can, you know, you can right off the bat tell us, hey, we have X amount of followers on our social media accounts. We can even pull that out. So that's kind of like the first question you'll get asked when a client's kind of looking at you as a potential, you know, source for a social media post. But then you also need to be able to provide metrics after the post has gone up. And your social media editors or your social media team shouldn't have any difficulty pulling that information out. Social media, you know, platforms kind of readily give this information if you just Google it and see, you know, the steps that you need to take to pull it out. But also sync with your social media team so that they also get in the habit of pulling metrics for you and your clients whenever they're, you know, whenever you're selling social media posts. So yeah, that's it on social.
Cool. So just for some context before I jump in here, we tailored this section to be primarily for people who already have e-newsletters and are kind of just looking to improve the product and just make it a little bit more aggressive. But we do also have starter resources for publications that are only considering starting one from scratch. So feel free to reach out to us after this call, and we'll be more than happy to provide those resources. A couple of these will apply to maybe some new publishers that are just getting into the e-newsletter game. But for the most part, these are like more aggressive strategies. So regarding your subscriber count, so a big thing with national campaigns is they want reach. So obviously, the more subscribers you have, the better and the more likely it is that we'll be able to sell you, especially with your local advertisers too. Like they want to reach as many people as possible. So the first thing that we suggest focusing on when it comes to bettering this product is to grow your subscriber count in a couple different ways. So we've seen publishers be successful in either requesting your university's emails just from the administration. You can make the argument that you are providing a valuable news source, and it's kind of like every right of yours. There are some universities that are a little bit kind of sticky and maybe don't want to give that information up. Even public universities we've run into that problem with. What you can do then is you can request the emails through a public records request. And then the last way that we actually had David Simpson recommend is to manually pull the emails from the directory. So your university directory is available for everyone. It takes a lot of time, but it's definitely worth it in the end, especially if those first two avenues just aren't really something that can work for you. And then if you really can't do any of those three things, then what we've been suggesting is to have content that's only available in your e-newsletter to drive subscribers in a different way. So maybe you have special COVID updates in your e-newsletter, or you have like sports rundowns that you don't have available on your website that would draw people to then go and click the subscribe button on your website rather than having a sign up link on your Facebook page. You can also do promotions, asking people for feedback on your publication or letting them know about different services that you're running. And then at the end of that promotion, if it's the form of a survey, you can have them opt in to being contacted in the future. And at that point, you can add them to your subscriber list. So that's another tool that we've been recommending. I know like a lot of small publications that are first starting their e-newsletter have had some success with that. And then regarding advertising, it's really important that you have at least above the fold placement. So what that means is at the top of your e-newsletter, just make sure that you have either an ad here on the side, like a skyscraper ad, or have a leaderboard ad right below your logo. If you really can't do that just because of policy issues or graphic design issues, then have a medium rectangle within the middle of your content that's just very easily viewable when people are scrolling either on their phones or on their tablets, on their computers. You can also, if you use MailChimp, there are analytic features that you can use to test ways to kind of figure out which of your readers are reading what emails and why. So MailChimp has this feature where you can send out half of your emails with one subject line and the other half with a different subject line. And then you can track who opens more based on the subject, and you can figure out what messaging is encouraging your readers to open your content. That's really exciting. Like, we've used that for our own e-newsletter, so that was really helpful. You can also feature sponsored content on behalf of your local advertisers or national in your e-newsletter as well, and then you can charge a premium to host it. You can also collect audience demographics whenever your audience subscribes. So you can just send them a survey asking them, not any invasive questions, but things like if they're freshmen or if they're part of Greek life, if they're living on campus. And then you can use those questions to create target audiences for your advertisers and charge them a premium to target like those certain segments. And then the very last thing, we have a resource called the Ideal Publisher Media Kit. And what that is a guide to pricing all of the products that national buyers consistently ask for, as well as why they're important. So pricing is a big part of it. If you're not pricing your e-newsletter fairly based off of your subscriber count, then it's less likely that you'll have people interested in that. So we have that resource that we can pass along with. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd be more than happy to walk you through it. And it's something that has helped a lot of publishers from the ground up start pricing their products, including the e-newsletter.
Yeah, so number 3 is just keep printing. And I know that during this time, we've seen a lot of discussions coming up about should we keep our print editions, or should we cut down from daily to weekly? And the only thing that we're really saying here is keep something in print. Find new and innovative ways to do your print publication and keep that content alive. Specifically because, and Carrie, you can hit the next slide, specifically as we are going into this political season, Carrie mentioned that our director of political and election and advocacy, Zach Weinberg, is really pushing a lot of political sales, and that includes print. Some of you may have received an email from us that was talking about filling out a fast track form with all of your inventory for the fall because you're already being considered for a campaign that we have signed for in the fall called Vote America. And for this campaign, we had to do 2 separate proposals, one that included print in the event that most of the schools on the proposal go back in the fall and your print edition is alive and well. We also did an all digital proposal. That doesn't mean when it comes time for fall that we get to decide, oh, everyone decided to cut their print publication, so we're gonna go with the digital plan. That just means that if you go back to campus and you do have print and you were on that proposal, we're ready to send those ads your way. So even if you are planning to really cut down your print publication to maybe just a weekly or even just special editions, these are the times that we're looking at, and I will give you a list. If you could just think about having a print edition around these specific dates, that will help us when it comes to the political and even corporate buys as we go into the fall. So any issues around Welcome Week, anything you can have on newsstands then, even if it's just 4 to 6 pages, that would benefit us and that would benefit you. Anything around National Voter Registration Day, we're going to be looking to send out print ads around that specific day. Your state's voter registration deadline, again, we're looking to send print ads out around that time. So if you can have anything on newsstands, even if it's a reprint of something previous. We'd love to see it on newsstands. And then the last two, your state's early vote or absentee ballot guide, and on or before election day. Anything surrounding those days, it keeps you in that bucket. Even if you've cut your print down, it keeps you in line to receive some type of political advertising from us in the print form. So again, those are the major days that we're looking for. Obviously, we'd love for you to keep your print alive and well for us to send you additional corporate buys throughout the year. But if you are thinking about cutting that print down, specifically with political season, if you could keep something on newsstands around that time, we'd love to continue sending revenue your way.
Yeah, so we already touched on kind of innovating within product categories that you already sell, like print, digital, social, and e-newsletter. They're kind of more integrated than what college media does today. But at Flytedesk, we also tried different types of revenue streams, and we piloted them to see the success of these revenue streams, and we kind of wanted to share with you what we found. I'm going to spend some time on this product. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and I want to say I welcome all of the questions, because this is kind of a really new product to college media. And I want to make sure that we get your gut feeling on it, we get your questions on it, we get your concerns. I want to hear you basically talk about this once I explain what it is. So yeah, not too long ago, had the pleasure of piloting the first kind of campus influencer network, via Flytedesk. And I want to kind of, stop for a minute and talk about what an influencer means. So there's a lot of buzz around micro influencers on campus. And those are students that are either in power positions or unique positions on campus, or they could be students with a lot of followers. And so a lot of people follow them within, the student body. And so what we did is we kind of piloted this with Next Gen. And we tried to build the first influencer network. Now, I just want to say we want this to be kind of part of the product offering of college media. But the first try, or the pilot that we did, no publisher was really involved, because it was kind of during the COVID-19 situation and publishers were overwhelmed. So we piloted it on our own. We kind of built a case study that we can use to help you launch this on your campus. So basically what the campaign was, NextGen was trying to spread information on voter registration deadline in Pennsylvania, and basically wanted to encourage students to register to vote before that deadline. And so, as I've already said this, I said this already, I'm a Penn State alumna. And so what I did is I kind of used my knowledge of the Penn State campus to build and recruit this influencer network. So what it entailed is, me reaching out to the influencers, telling them what exactly we're trying to accomplish. I reached out to a bunch, I got a bunch to talk to me, and then we've selected kind of a few to pilot this campaign with. All the influencers had to do was post on their social media accounts periodically. So there was an agreement of like how many posts they were supposed to post, and what exactly the message should be, and they could go and kind of create content that matched kind of the message we're trying to get out. And so, yeah, I kind of tracked, tracked whatever they were doing. We pulled images and screenshots on what the students were doing, and we reported on metrics. And honestly, it was a lot of fun to try out. It was, it's such a pleasure working with students on innovative projects like this. It's honestly not as difficult as it sounds. It was really fun. It didn't take me a lot of time to find the students. And I graduated from Penn State in 2018. So my knowledge was kind of outdated on who's cool at Penn State and who I should be talking to. But I was able to pull the information and find my influencers pretty easily. And just working with them, it was really fun. So the way we're envisioning this for college media is you kind of would be that medium between us and the influencers. Definitely, we want the money to funnel through you. We want to pay you for finding the influencers. And so, yeah, the college media organization would go and find these influencers and recruit them. You would get a lot of information from us. Honestly, we piloted this. I documented every step that I had to take to get from point A to Z. We're going to give you kind of a handbook that you can use, and everything that you need to execute this perfectly. But all you have to do is just say, yeah, I'm interested in trying this out. Let's see what that looks like on your campus. And again, like this is, this has been something that a lot of our national advertisers talked about. We've heard from a lot of big corporate brands. They've said that they have interest in influencer networks on campus. We've also heard from students. Whenever we were doing focus groups with students on campus, students said that they follow influencers, that they like getting their content from influencers, that they trust influencers. And micro-influencers, those are influencers within a specific community, have a special advantage. And we want you to kind of foster that on your campus and have this network so you can sell it to us, but you can also have a bunch of influencers that you can sell to your local clients. So it's just honestly a revenue stream for you, but something we wanted to share with college media and kind of get your your thoughts on it. Kara, do you want to show the example of the video? So I wanted to show you an example of the content that we got from one of our influencers, our favorite influencer, Kung Fu Kenny, on TikTok, which TikTok is totally new, but there's a lot of interest in TikTokers. And by the way, they also seem to have an easier time building, huge followings. But yeah, just want to show you an example of what that looked like.
Okay, hopefully the sound will come through, but let us know if you can't hear it.
Hey guys, today I need to talk to you all about something very important. May 18th is a very important day for all of you that are over the age of 18. And that is, drumroll please, the voter registration deadline. There's a company called NextGen that is really helpful in registering young voters. They've registered over 1.3 million voters since 2013. Get out there and make your voice heard, ladies and gentlemen. Follow my link down below for the voter registration guide. Love you all, and let's make a difference.
So you can tell why we love Kung Fu Kenny. But yeah, she has hundreds of thousands of followers on her TikTok account. The content itself got a lot of interest. A lot of people commented on it and liked it. And so, yeah, it was honestly really successful. But we'll talk about that in the Q&A section.
Cool. So I think the last tip that we really wanted to go over is just make sure to stay connected. I know this seems a little bit obvious, but it was something that we weren't really sure how to approach once COVID hit. And we were really fortunate to have a member of our team, Piper, spearhead sort of that initiative of making sure that we all felt like we were still a company. We weren't all just like working in our little offices by ourselves, like feeling really just like disconnected and kind of alone. So what we did is every month we have happy hours, we have virtual lunches. We also had daily trivia sessions about all of the different members at our organization, so we could learn more about each other and just like sharing some laughs and some conversations that we used to get, organically when we were in person. And that's just been really helpful to make it feel like it's still fun, and we're not just really segmented. We've also had brainstorming sessions on how to increase advertising. We've seen publishers do the same. When everything happened, I remember we were jumping on all these frantic calls, brainstorming different ways to reallocate media, whether it was for NextGen or Colorado Army National Guard or tandem care planning, and they felt really, really actionable. And we just had to move so quickly, and it was really collaborative, and it was awesome, like being a part of that process. So I think maybe include in your brainstorming sessions people that you haven't in the past, whether that's editorial, like break down the wall between editorial and advertising, whether that's a new sales manager, or whether that's just somebody from graphic design, and get them to be part of the conversation, because it's important to generate ideas that you haven't maybe thought of before. And I think those can come from unexpected places. When I worked at the UP, we would typically, we would have critiques every Friday, but we would always ask the new students who had just walked in the newsroom what they thought of our edition and what they thought of our process. And they usually had some of the best feedback rather than the pros who had been there for years. So I think include as many people as you can in sort of your vision and your goal for the fall semester, so that you can really feel like one team again. And then reach out to other college media outlets for advice. That's one of my biggest regrets that I didn't do when I was in college. There are so many awesome publishers out there. You guys are all amazing, and you're doing so many cool things. And I wish I'd been aware of that, so that I could have done a better job on editorial and a better job on advertising, and just been aware of all the different tools and methods and ways of approaching things that are out there right now. So don't be afraid to ask for advice from bigger universities in your area, or maybe provide them, if you're a big university, to smaller publications. We're all, one of the largest campus networks in the nation, and we have publishers that we can connect you to. So if you're ever not really sure how to make an introduction, reach out to us. Like, we'll have a contact for you that we can put you in touch with, whether you have a question about launching digital products, or just how to start advertising, or how to be really aggressive with your print ads in the fall. We always have a contact that we can put you in touch with. So just really, really emphasizing the importance of making sure that college media stays connected as a network, and not just little silos of publishers doing really great things that nobody else knows about. So very last part of our presentation, how we can help. So this is a bit of a Flytedesk plug, but we do have a lot of tools that are really helpful for you both during and after COVID. They help us sell you nationally, and they're great tools for your local advertisers, great tools for your organization as a whole. And just really wanted to make sure to go over those. And if you have any questions afterward, let us know, and we'll pass off those resources. So very first thing is our media kit. So if you're not aware, our tech platform does give you the option to create a digital media kit. It lets you offer virtually any product under the sun. We really wanted college media to offer and to innovate anything that national buyers request. So it doesn't just give you the option to offer print and social and digital and all the classics. It gives you the option to offer campus transit, or this influencer network, or classifieds, or really anything that you can name and you can sell. Our media kit gives you the option to create. You input your products that you offer, your rates and your dates, and then we use that information to sell you nationally. One of the reasons why it's so important to update and to make sure that you reach out to your pub rep and ensure that your kit is all good to go is because when we're putting together proposals for national clients, we typically have less than 48 hours to aggregate all of that information. The majority of our plans involve anywhere from dozens to hundreds of publishers, and we just don't have the time or the resources to go and to call all of those publishers and to get their updated media kit. Like, a lot of media kits that are available online are out of date, or maybe they don't offer certain things, or they're missing a rate, or they're missing a date. And that information just really needs to be accessible to national buyers at any time, no matter what the day, no matter if it's a weekend, like we work weekends. So having that information and having your inventory available for these national brands is so crucial for the fall. I mean, for it doesn't matter what time of year it is, we always need that information. So if you haven't updated your media kit yet, definitely feel free to email your pub rep. We'll pass off our contact information at the end of this call, but that is something that would really help you secure more national revenue.
So I want to talk a little bit about Flytedesk's operating system, which is known as the ad shop. I know a lot of people have heard, us talking about the ad shop. I've heard other publications talking about it, and I kind of want to explain kind of why we're doing a huge push on it, and how we see it fit in with what we're trying to achieve. So to be honest with you, publications that use our ad shop or our operating system have higher chances of getting national and local ads for multiple reasons. From a local perspective, you have a storefront that you can put up on your site 24/7, and especially in this COVID-19 situation, I really noticed that publications that were using it benefited from the ability to have that kind of serve as their online salesman or their conversation opener, however you want to market it. But it was there up on their site, with students going through rough times and them going through rough times, there was somebody or a platform or a storefront out there that was answering questions and starting conversations. Other things that it does is, it helps college media run more efficiently. And we've seen, publications improve their processes, launch new products and services, and just become more integrated as a team, because we don't charge by seat. So you can have the entire organization, from the layout team to the billing team to the creative team, all within our platform, integrating together, and each of them can have their own piece. From a national perspective, I also want to touch on that, because ad shop users or OS users have much higher chances of getting national ads from us. And I want to explain kind of why that is. So from our perspective, when we can go onto your account and see exactly what's been sold and what's available and how things are going, we're able to answer our own questions within seconds. And national buyers don't have a lot of time to spend. Political advertisers specifically want answers very quickly. And for us to be able to go and see exactly what's going on and what's available and what's not available, that is especially true for products like digital, social, e-newsletter, and special editions, because there's a limited number of spots on your website. And there's a limited number of social media ads that you're going to let go through a day without having your entire social media feed be just ads. And there's a limited number of spots on your e-newsletter. And we don't want to have to go and sell, try to answer these questions on our own, just, sending you an email, waiting for you to get back to us. And that's how it's been. And that's very time consuming on both ends. And for a national perspective, it's not a good experience. So that's why we're pushing it now more than ever, is because we want to sell you more than ever. We have a huge political year, and we want to make sure that we have all the information that we need in order to help you drive in more revenue. Again, it's for your purposes, so you can drive in more revenue locally, but it also really helps us get you more national ads. If you want a demo, please let us know. We have our email is going to show up towards the end, hello@flytedesk.com. Just reach out and say, hey, I want to know what it is. I want to learn about it. Honestly, we've taken a lot of steps to improve it. We've launched a lot of products this summer, and there's a lot of features that are going to come out as well. So we want to share that with you. We want to get your perspective on it, and we want to hear from you. What would it take for us to build the right operating system for you? And we can't know that if we don't have a conversation about it. So just reach out to us. Let us know if you have any questions, so we can, build the right operating system for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of give one more little thing to wrap up in a bow what Lean was saying about the Flytedesk OS, and that's, if you have seen the pitch before and you think, oh, I've seen the Flytedesk ad shop pitch, or I've heard what you have to offer. When Lean says that we've made a lot of changes this summer, even in the last few weeks, we've definitely made a lot of changes to our billing and our invoicing page. And if you haven't reached out to a pub rep and seen the changes, then you haven't necessarily seen the new Flytedesk OS, because we've only enabled the changes in certain users' accounts that are beta testing it. And so it's really cool in my opinion, and I actually just did a demo with Charlie and his team yesterday on the new changes. And so just give it a shot. If you haven't reached out to your pub rep, or if we have been reaching out to you, just give us 30 minutes of your time to show you those new changes in the OS, so that you can make a decision and really be a part of giving feedback for the future of what we're building out for student media.
Also want to touch on Flytedesk sales training program, which is honestly still a beta version. So, a while back we realized that there's kind of, there's a lot of questions, and people come to us with all sorts of questions and help, when it comes to training. I personally sat down on a lot of weekly sales calls and trained staff on not just using our platform, but how to sell in general. I remember in 2018, CMBAM awarded me and my team at the Daily Collegian the best sales training program in the nation. And so I kind of used that content with a little bit of what I learned from being at Flytedesk and interacting with publications and seeing how their training programs are, kind of merged all of that into a quick kind of 6-lesson, 1-hour training program. A student can hop in within one day. They can go from like not knowing anything about sales or what to sell or anything, how to sell in general, to having, a good idea of where to get started. Again, it's a beta. I know it's not perfect, but the point of us launching a beta is we wanted your students to try it out. We wanted to kind of complement your efforts in training, have something extra on the side that they can go through. We wanted to also provide certification. So one of the things about the training program is once a student goes through it, there's a little quiz that they take. And once they pass, they get a certification from Flytedesk that says they're sales certified. To us, that, I remember when I was a student, and I was applying for jobs and whatnot, I think that's really valuable when you can say, hey, I'm sales certified from this company, and I've gone through training, like official training, and I can prove it. So it really serves the students in that manner. But yeah, we wanted to launch a beta so that your students can interact with it, so that you can see it and you can tell us, hey, I really think it would be helpful if you added these extra lessons, or this lesson is really great for these reasons, or I didn't really like this one for X reason. We basically want to get more information. But the reason why I bring this up right now is I know training is going to be really difficult, especially if you don't know if you're going to be on campus or not on campus. It's going to be remote. So the nice thing about this is it's just a link. You send them, they can hop on. It's free. They can just go kind of learn a couple of things that are different from what you're teaching them and get an idea, or kind of be a little bit more prepared to start selling once fall hits. So it's available. Again, let us know if you have any questions on it. We'll share the link. But just thought that would be a helpful resource given how tough the situation is right now.
Yeah, and the last thing, again, cliche as it is, we're here for you. And when I say that, I truly mean it. I text a lot of the publishers that I work with. Brett from Tulane texts me at least 25 times a day, and that's not a joke. And I make sure to answer any question that he has that comes across my phone. Even as we're on this call, my phone is sitting right here, and Brett is texting me questions as he's testing the platform. I'm taking his information and shooting it over in our notes to our product and engineering team. Carrie mentioned earlier that we even work on the weekends. Sometimes I even work on vacation. I went on a cruise with my family and bought the internet package just so I could check my email. But we are truly here, whether it's the sales training program, the ideal media kit for us to send out to you. If you want one of us pub reps to hop on a call with your team and train your staff, because again, we've been through it. Anything that you need, we are truly here to help in whatever way that we can. And we ask that of you too. Like, one of the things that I had talked about that kind of spurred this conversation with Charlie is making more training videos, and we want to utilize student media to make those videos. You don't always want to see my face or Lean's face or Carrie's face. We want to use your student staffers who are utilizing our OS, who have gone in and run national ads for us. We want to use them to create these training videos that we can put out on our website and that you can use on your website as well. So again, we are truly here, whatever it takes, morning, noon, or night. Something that we didn't mention before was the area that we cover. So Lean covers all the publishers on the East Coast, Carrie takes the West Coast, and I take everything down the middle. And if you're in the Flytedesk platform, you can kind of click in the account settings button up in the right-hand corner, and you can see who your pub rep is. It'll give you our email address and our phone number. Just a tip, that's our cell phone number. So if you text or call, we probably have our phone on us. So you're not just going to be reaching an office line. We usually have our phone on us at all times. So anything that you need, we're here for you. And we're kind of going to get to the questions now. I've seen some questions coming through the chat. And if you have any more, you can feel free to pop them in. Or you can send us an email at hello@flytedesk.com. If you send it to that email, all three of us will be able to see it and kind of answer your question. Or if you have more of a personal relationship with your pub rep, then you can feel free to email them one-off, and we will make sure to share it with our other team members just in case those questions or concerns come through for anyone else.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely start working on the questions right now, and we'll just start from the top of the list. So David Simpson from Georgia Southern asked, not to derail the conversation about COVID disruption, but I can't make much progress on local sales if I can't recruit students to sell. If I could put you three in front of my business and sales-minded students in a classroom, what would you say to them about selling college media during this time, or just in general, I would assume?
Yeah, so I actually had to do this when I was working at the Collegian. So I had to go in front of different classrooms and kind of pitch to business-minded students to see if we could get someone to join our staff, because I was a one-person team doing it all. And really, the thing that I would say during this time is that I feel like this is the perfect time to join a student media organization as an ad rep, a business manager, or whatever the case may be, because you're having to learn how to sell during a difficult time, which is great for your resume for the future. We know that a lot of companies at this time are canceling their internships. And so this is the perfect opportunity for you to gain those lifelong skills and really be a part of building a brand from the ground up. Because during this time, you're able to innovate and change the process within the organization of how do we go from selling face to face, and because you don't necessarily want to go into a business and have to wear a mask and pitch to them, to how do we now make these sales calls via Zoom. And I think as we're in this generation right now, everyone is about the technology, whether it's on your phone or your computer. So that's really giving them the chance to use those skills of constantly being a part of the digital space and translating it to a real world application skill of learning how to sell advertisement, learning how to work on your marketing skills, and really building a brand. And it's fun. It's fun. I don't know if at your school your sales rep get to take commission. That was always the line for me, is like, hey, you get to write your own paycheck by selling ads and making commission. So I always kind of plug those in as well.
Okay. The next question relates to social media posts, and Alan Vaughn from Nebraska asks, what type of posts are you selling? Is it content from that advertiser?
Yeah, so we'll provide you with the text or exactly what you have to post, and also the image that you have to post. So everything will be provided to you from us. And yeah, all you have to do is just put it up on your social media handle.
Yeah, a couple examples of that would be, just really quick, so the Colorado Army National Guard would be advertising their recruitment orientation sessions. Tandem Care Planning would just be advertising their services. Nonpartisan campaigns are just advertising the voter registration deadlines. So they're not obtrusive. It's usually like 50 characters with a link and then an image, and you just post that on your social media.
Okay, and then next question is regarding political ads. Most, if not all, publishers require prepayment for political ads. Is Flytedesk prepared to do this even with student media organizations they are on a 30-day billing system with?
Yeah, so in terms of, that's a very common question. So in terms of political advertisers, so we have kind of a standard policy on how we pay publishers. And the reason for that is sometimes things fall through, sometimes things don't happen, and we don't know if an ad ran or not until we see a verification of it. So typically, even for political buyers, even though we require them to prepay, so we do secure your money for you, we need to see the verification before we can pay you, because yeah, things get messy sometimes and hectic. And so, I mean, we're willing to have a conversation about it. If you have more questions, like definitely reach out to me, Kathy. We can chat about that, but it's a standard policy right now, and all publishers get post-paid, but we secure your money beforehand.
And then there were a couple of questions about your Idea Publisher Media Kit resource. Would you be able to share that with the group? Like, is there a link, a direct link that we could share maybe in the chat, or is that something that you'd much rather have people individually reach out to you to get?
I will share it right now in the chat. I'll just upload the file.
Perfect, because I'm one of those people that want that. So.
Harry, do you have it readily available? Because I have it right now up on my computer.
It is being uploaded. It's 30 of the way through.
It is a PDF format, so you can kind of use it how you want, but it doesn't live on a website anywhere at the moment.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. And then the next question is, once again, more about social media posts. And there have been a couple of questions about, like, Facebook terms of use used to kind of keep people from posting in-feed sponsored content. Have those rules changed, and are any of our clients in jeopardy of getting their account shut down if they are violating that?
Lean, I think, did you run into this last spring?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways I've seen publications go around this. The example that is I think the most recent for me is, so the Harvard Crimson, actually, the way they run their Facebook ads is a sponsored post. So they follow the standard procedure that Facebook has in place to run posts. And it works perfectly fine. I mean, we can still see, I mean, they have really good analytics. We can still see how many people have reached it, and they make sure that it's targeting students on Harvard's campus. But for them, that felt like the safer option. We don't see any publications run into any trouble, to be honest. We've never had an example or publication reach out and say, hey, I ran your post and I got into trouble for it. But if you're worried, you can definitely run it as a sponsored post through the social media handle itself, and that gives the same results. Obviously, a lot of our advertisers prefer that it comes from your social media account because it's just more direct, and we can see that clearly. We can go on your social media account and grab it, while with sponsored posts, you'd have to screenshot it to prove that it happened, and also report in analytics and show us that it actually targeted kids at Harvard, for example, in the Harvard case. But I mean, yeah, I mean, we haven't heard anybody have any trouble just because they follow the guidelines in terms of reporting that it's a paid ad. And a lot of them tag the advertiser or write hashtag advertiser. So they are saying clearly who the advertiser is, and they're clearly saying that it's been paid for. And as far as policy, that's what they ask for.
And yeah, I was going to say, I do believe that policy has changed a few years ago. The one hurdle that I think that's associated with it that some of our student media groups don't go through that process is you do have to get an authenticated account to kind of put yourself under that umbrella, which means you either get the gray medallion or the blue medallion. And that's not very hard to get set up as a student media organization. And we can kind of probably, CMBAM can pull together some of those resources and maybe post that to the listserv so that other student media organizations that haven't gone through that process can get set up in that regard. So next question, I believe is from Eric. I've got some private messages as well that I'm sorting through here. What do you, Flytedesk and or student media organizations, pay influencers? And this is a question that I'm curious about as well.
Yeah, so just to make sure we're on the same page and how, the way we piloted it is different from how we're envisioning it for you. So in your case, we would pay you a lump sum, and then you can decide and talk to the influencers. Again, some influencers that I worked with seem to have done this before and kind of knew what they were worth. Other influencers were just like average kids on TikTok with a lot of followers and kind of were like, I'll take whatever you give me. So we'll let you kind of have these negotiations and decide who you pay what. I might be sharing too much, but I'm going to tell you this. So for Next Gen, we paid them about $100 for 3 posts. And they were happy with it. I didn't have anybody negotiate with me on the price. They were happy to take it. So it's not a lot of money. And maybe we gave them too much. Again, I think it'd be easier for you to kind of have these negotiations and see, some kids will be happy to do it for free. Others will ask for more money. So it's up to you how you decide to do that. But it doesn't cost that much to pay an influencer on campus, especially that they're micro influencers. And a lot of them don't do this regularly. So just, wanted to share that.
Okay. And then the next question is, can you share the information that is being scheduled in AdPro into AdShop, or do you have to explore any kind of plugin to pull that data over? Some schools are probably not in situations to change platforms and do not have the time to double enter all scheduled information.
Yeah, so I'm assuming this question is based on can you import your information from your old platform to the ad shop. Currently, there's not a plugin to do it. We do have a spreadsheet, and we've done this for a couple of schools where if you export out of your old system, as long as it goes into the format that we need on our spreadsheet, which we haven't had too many issues with people being able to get it into our format, then we can take the rest from there and get that imported into the platform for you. That's definitely a conversation to have with your pub rep, whoever's in your area, because we need to know everything that you're trying to import into the system. And then that depends on what the lift will be on your end, especially because we know that you're very time sensitive right now. If you were to switch to a new platform, you want to make sure that you're set up to have all of your information in the new system. So that is something that we have been working on. We actually just had a discussion about it a few hours ago of making sure that we are set up and ready to go to have any information that you need from your old system to the new system with as much ease as possible. But there is not a plugin at the moment to handle that switch.
Okay. And then I guess a follow-up to that question, and that was part of the conversation that we had yesterday, Monica, too, is on the flip side of that, are we able to export billing information so that we can balance it with an outside general ledger program like QuickBooks or that type of thing?
Yeah, so you'll be able to export the information and kind of what we talked about on our call is the next step. So I'll kind of give a brief timeline. During this spring semester, we've really been working on building out the billing and the invoicing page within the operating system. And then our next step is to go on to reporting so that you can have those robust reports that you need to be able to do your billing comparisons or anything else that you need. Currently, it's just a basic export of what you have in our platform that you'll be able to export as far as the billing, and you can plug it in wherever you need. But we also have been getting a lot of feedback on people would like integrations with QuickBooks, which is something that we have been doing research on. I won't say that's something that we're committing to, but we have been doing research on how to integrate with some of the other platforms or softwares that you're currently using to, again, have as much ease of use as possible with the OS.
Excellent. And then the last question in the chat right now is, how did the school you worked with pay the influencer? I can see where there may be challenges for some schools paying non-employees. I thought, thoughts by all on a workaround. So like how Flytedesk, it's easier for you to just cut a check to a random individual that is potentially a student or just really active in the area. How do you recommend that student media organizations kind of handle that challenge sometimes? Because some of us are required to pay students only. Others have, like, more of the independents have a little bit more free reign over that, but.
Yeah, so again, like, we ended up doing this on our own because it was in the middle of the COVID-19 situation, didn't want to overwhelm any publishers with it before we kind of piloted it on our own and learned from it and then came to you with a recommendation. So the way we paid the influencers is, so as I've already, told you how much we paid them. So it wasn't enough for us to require for them to fill out a W-9. So we could just Venmo them the amount, and yeah, they didn't make a lot for us to have to require a W-9. We do see in the future, if we continued working with the same influencers, yeah, I would have to ask for a W-9 at some point. But some workarounds that I've seen publications do for other services, not for this specific case, obviously, because it's a new product, but you can offer payment in other ways. So you can give gift cards, you can give them something for free. And again, not all influencers are going to ask for money. Some of them are just going to be happy to do it just because it's a message that makes sense for them, or they're happy to get something like a gift in exchange, or if the client's offering some sort of merchandise, that's enough for them. So it's really on a case-by-case basis, and we'll definitely if we're going to do this on your campus, we'll be there with you, and we'll make sure that everything is handled from your end and that you're not having any trouble at all. But yeah, it really depends on, in this specific case, they've just got paid too little for us to have to, we could just Venmo them.
Okay. Following up on kind of the influencer question chain, how would you recommend that in preparation for some of this, for both at the Flytedesk level and at local levels, like, how do you go out and source those individuals? Or do you just have your social media team kind of do some social searches, check on trending hashtags, different things like how do you compile your database, or how do you identify an influencer in your market? If you're like, because a lot of times we'll be bringing new students in that don't necessarily know everybody in the area.
Yeah, so it was really fun, honestly, trying to find students that fit our profile. And yeah, I feel like it was probably more difficult for me because, again, I wasn't on Penn State's campus anymore, wasn't relevant. I think you'll have an easier time in comparison trying to find the right profile of students. So that's a plus. In terms of what I did, so for Next Gen specifically, as you can see, they were looking for students that had a lot of followers, or students in like really important positions on campus, so like the president of the student government, or a president of some college media organization if they agreed to, or somebody that was in position of power or influence on campus, like that fit their criteria. And so what I did, first of all, is I went on my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter. For Instagram specifically, which is the majority of where our influencers were, Instagram is designed in a way, their algorithm shows you, if you go to search by the location. So I went and I searched State College, PA, I searched University Park, I searched Penn State, so all the different locations that somebody could tag when they're uploading a picture of themselves. And then the algorithm itself will give you the number of like pictures of people who got a lot of followers and likes. So Instagram already hands you a list of people that have a lot of followers and a lot of engagement by their algorithm naturally. So that made it really easy for me to find the right people. And then I used college media. So I went and I searched top 10 influencers or TikTokers at Penn State's campus and found the Daily Collegian have an article that was ready for me. So I just pulled them out, reached out to them and talked to them. And so so the social media platforms really help. But I also recommend, finding a couple of profiles that you're looking for. So for us, we were looking at certain students in certain positions. So if I was looking at the president of the student government, I just searched president of the student government at Penn State, got their email, got their contact info, and just reached out. So also having certain profiles and positions you're looking for helps as well.
And then would you be willing to share the case study that you guys pulled together with the group as well?
Yeah, so we're prepping that right now, actually. Alda's working on a nice presentation. Yeah, we definitely want to share it. But I also wanted to hear from you guys, like, what is your gut feeling on this? How excited, not excited? What are some other concerns? Because, yeah, we were tasked with kind of getting an idea of how you feel about this, because it's a really new kind of product.
Anybody that wants to unmute their mic can do so and just verbally answer that question back.
Well, I'll say that up until today, I didn't want to hear about influencer networks. I think because they sound scary. But I think y'all have done a really good job explaining it, and I would very much like to hear more about it. Right off the bat, I think about if we reach out to our SGA president, no, he can't be paid. Because that's using his university position, and it sort of seems to me to, now you'd hope your SGA president would want to do the next gen stuff. But, I think we'll all have wrinkles, but I also think it's also a case, I'm the guy who says he has so much trouble recruiting salespeople. I do have marketing people who are, I think, would embrace this kind of work.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please. You're more important to talk. Please go ahead.
I think in this day and age, it's really easy, even for new, incoming students. I knew that was, a concern, but I just remember back to my freshman year, how many, friends or university people I connected with just right off the bat, on those Facebook pages and stuff, where you can easily see what people, what school they go to. They always have it in their bio, just that's very easy for students my age, and I think it would be easy to reach out to and be really affordable too, because some students, like you said, are motivated just by merchandise or a small compensation of some sort. So I think it's very feasible, and it's a great plan, and I like how you guys presented it. So
yeah, I think I would just say that it's one thing that we've really talked about, which is funny. I've had to kind of eat my words, because last summer as an intern, the interns did a panel on why influencers would never work. And here we are a year later doing an influencer network. And I love it. But in this day, everybody wants to be an influencer. They want to be a TikTok influencer. They want to be Insta famous. And so that's where you kind of are able to really work your way in and get around the payment and really do it for the exposure, because now they're going to be able to boost their followers just from doing it for you. And all you have to do is throw them a t-shirt or a stress ball or a water bottle or something, and they're happy with just increasing their followers to get closer to being a social media influencer.
David, you said something that was interesting, and I kind of want to touch on that a little bit. So the kinds of students or the group of students you should have working on this, could be anybody. You can have your sales team work on it, but I would highly recommend designating a team to this kind of product. Just because, your average salesperson is trying to cold call and trying to, get their clients' ads in and trying to collect creative and billing and whatnot. And if you have the capacity to have another group of students focus on this, I think the results will be much better, because you have somebody that's designated and kind of focus on this solely. And yeah, they can build it, and then they can recruit the influencers, and they can, by the way, what I tried to do is overreach. So try to talk to as many people as possible, try to get as many profiles, try to get myself in front of as many people as possible, so that I could pick and choose who I want to be an influencer for this campaign and who could be a better influencer for that campaign. And so be able to kind of segment my influencers. So yeah, I would recommend having somebody kind of focus on this, reach out to as many people as you can, collect information on them. Again, being able to provide metrics is really important. So for us, the first thing that we collected is how many followers do you have across the panels, across your channels, which ones are you planning on using to spread the message? And we kind of collected that and kind of put that together so we can get an estimate on the number of impressions or how many people we can reach. And then of course, again, after the campaign ran, we asked for metrics. And it wasn't hard for the students to pull out the metrics themselves. Yeah, it was overall a really smooth process. But again, I was focused on it. And so if you have somebody on your team that's focused on it, I think they'll have a great time and you'll have a great time as well.
I'll just chime in and say what you described sounds doable. It does sound like it's somewhat labor intensive because you've got to find people, you've got to then get in touch with them, you've got to give them the messaging, you've got to get them whatever their compensation or reward is. So it's a high touch kind of thing. And so I'd be looking for, as you guys develop this, to give us some guidance on what a national advertiser will pay. In other words, what would they pay you? And then you've got to take a cut. What would they pay us? If we have to pay an influencer, what can we pay them? Because that's going to guide whether it's worth the time and effort to build this kind of thing out. And, I think most of us have no real idea whether what a national brand would pay per influencer or per post or whatever. So any guidance you can give us going down the road would help. Thanks.
Yeah, Eric, that was great. Yeah, of course. So we'll make sure, and we'll make sure we get you as much information as possible. I do want to say that we're expecting the pay to vary by campaign. Some campaigns are going to want 20 influencers or 30 influencers, and some are just going to want 5. And it just really depends. But we'll definitely, again, we talk a lot about standardizing products and services. So we'll make sure we come up with a recommendation and an estimate that makes sense for you. Because again, we also want you to launch this locally. I mean, sell it to all your clients and get some interest in driving your own revenue. But yeah, we'll make sure we answer these questions, but it definitely vary by campaign.
Okay. Well, I think we will call it here. I'd like to thank our presenters. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to kind of help student media kind of navigate some of the challenges that we're experiencing right now. And I'd like to thank everybody that attended and participated in the questioning and whatnot. And we will continue to kind of host these types of engagements for our membership and hopefully continue to expand the numbers. At our max, we had 38 attendees, which I believe is the largest attended CMBAM individually hosted thing. So thank you very much, everyone. And we will see you later. Have a good day.
Thank you all for your time. Stay safe.